Next up, we got Josh Hokit versus Denzel Freeman. I know some people love Josh Hokit, some people hate Josh Hokit. I will say, though, he seems to be a pretty talented up-and-coming guy. He has that wrestling background. He's a former D1 wrestler, I believe, former college football player, too, as well. Or no, I think he played in the NFL, I believe. High-level football player as well, on top of that D1 wrestling background. So we know he's he's a naturally athletic guy. In the heavyweight division, there's not a whole lot of talent. He's had a ton of success so far in his short, early career. Getting into the UFC off the Contender Series win, good luck. He had his first fight in the UFC, looked pretty solid. Now he's going against Denzel Freeman, who had a bit of a shit show in his first UFC fight. He's going against the up-and-coming, very young, Polish kid, I believe. It was a couple weeks ago before the break. And it was an all-right performance on back-and-forth striking on the feet. It just wasn't all that impressive. Now, do I think Josh Hokit should be a minus 250? Probably not. In terms of the striking, both these guys are decently green. They have decent level of training partners backing them up. I believe Denzel Freeman, I think he's training at the same gym as John Jones, I believe. Because I feel like I've seen them training or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's where my head's at for some reason in this fight. But anyway, these guys both are pretty green. You know, Denzel Freeman, I believe he was in the military as well. He has some type of military background. So both these guys are kind of just heavyweight guys, naturally athletic. They kind of transitioned into MMA later on after in their careers, if you want to call the football thing that, unless he's in the NFL. I was thinking more so college. But you get what I'm saying. A little bit later in life, they transitioned to MMA. They realized, oh, there's not a ton of competition at the heavyweight level. I can be pretty decent. And this is where we're at so far. So I think both these guys have decent potential in the heavyweight division. Do I see either of these guys being absolute world beaters? Josh Hokit, maybe. 28 years old, he's very young for heavyweight division. I do think he has a lot more potential than Denzel Freeman at 34 years old. I don't really know how far he's going to get. But yeah, I mean, in this fight, you could look at it in the sense of Denzel Freeman. He does have a nice reach advantage. He's a southpaw going against the orthodox fighter in the spot. He does have that going for him. But I think Josh Hokit definitely has the natural wrestling ability. If he can land takedowns, I think he can control a guy like Denzel Freeman. Now, I will say, though, the thing that we've seen from Denzel Freeman, I don't want to say is a huge deal by any means. But the thing we saw is he recently fought, or a couple years ago when he fought Steven Asplund back in the LFA 2024, he was able to show off some of his grappling abilities. So I don't think he's going to be a fish out of water on the grappling sense. I just think Josh Hokit, that D1 wrestling background, he's going to be the better wrestler. That's as simple as it's going to be. In terms of the cardio, that could be interesting. This somehow goes late. Maybe Josh Hokit could death gas. Maybe Denzel Freeman could be have more energy left. But that's just kind of shoulda, coulda, woulda. We'll have to see how that goes. There's not a ton of evidence to really support that or go against that claim. So the pick's going to be Josh Hokit. I think he can take it to the ground, and he should be able to get to a top position, be able to control in terms of just controlling him on the ground. Maybe he routes up a submission. Maybe he goes for some ground and pound. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's a boring-ass fight. We'll have to see, but I'll go with Josh Hokit. I just think he has the higher skill cap. We'll probably go a little bit further in his career, and he has a couple upsides like the wrestling like we talked about. So that does it for this one.